So I'm from Africa. I don't carry cash all that often because it's very dangerous to carry cash. But you reckon it's not that much different in the US?
$40. That's a rule. Carry $40 on you. So if you get robbed, you get robbed. No great loss.
The West versus the East. And it's not about which is better. We must always make that clear, because I very much like Western stuff and I also like Eastern stuff. And what we want ultimately is the West and the East to work together. We don't want rivalry. We don't want, we want competition, but we don't want fighting. And it's very important that we try and understand each side, because that is how we actually make progress. We don't make progress by creating enemies. But that's what's been happening.
That's our podcast.
Yeah,
that's our podcast.
We're done. let me press end. But I mean, that's what's been happening under the Trump administration. I like some of the things that Trump says and does, and I dislike many others. One of the things that I dislike about his administration is how he has created China as enemy number one.
Well, first of all, Trump does not even represent the entire West. Trump only represents a segment of the U.S. right now. He doesn't even represent the entire.
But he's the president.
He's a president because we have a electoral college system. But as you know, U.S. itself politically is quite divided. You know, it's almost like 50-50 right down the middle. But yeah, because Trump is the president, and he's actually slapping tariff against everyone now, not just China or people in the East. He's slapping tariff against Europeans as well. You know, right now, all the EU leaders are. Did you see that recent photos of all these EU leaders that were lining up, sitting like school children, ready to get scolded, and I mean, wow, you know, like that. But that's how it is. That's how it is, because Trump can do that because, you know, U.S. has a lot of power, and Trump just felt that he could throw the weight around, and right now it's all big sticks, no carrots, no ice cream. Sorry, just big sticks.
Am I right in saying that India and China have decided to remove trade barriers between each other?
So right now, there's an interesting development because of Trump, actually.
God
because
bless Trump.
Has, well, Trump. You know, I said give that man a Nobel Peace Prize already. You know, Trump is the greatest peacemaker at the moment because he's making India and China sitting together, resolving their long-held differences. So give that man a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, Nobel Peace Prize is Nobel Peace Prize is a piece of joke anyway. Like Obama receives a Nobel Peace Prize before he even started working as the U.S. president, right? He just won Nobel Peace Prize for getting elected, and you know why not?
And then he authorized, I think, something like 26,000 shellings in the Middle East in 2016 alone.
Yeah, so give Trump a Nobel Peace Prize. You know, that thing is a piece of joke, but. I saw the picture, your picture froze, and I just automatically assumed it was your internet because you're in South Africa. Hey, it turned out it was me. So I had to at least once a day reset my Wi-Fi router to get the internet working, and it just so happened. So where did we left off? Should we restart?
You were just about to tell me about Trump.
Oh yeah, but give that man a Nobel Prize nevertheless, because Trump is putting a lot of pressure on India for purchasing of Russian oil. Now India felt compelled to see closer alignment with its fellow BRICS members, that is China. And one of the things that happened between India and China was there was a 2020 border conflict that kind of put the bilateral relationship on a nosedive. And as a result, India banned TikTok. They put a lot of restriction on Chinese investment into India, particularly in the tech sector. Chinese auto giant BYD was going to build an electric vehicle joint venture in India, and because of the Indian government intervention, that deal got canned. So now as a result of the Trump pressure on India, the 50% tariff on Indian goods, now India is approaching China and say, okay, let's work our differences. We're going to lift the restrictions that we previously put on Chinese investment and trade. And in fact, the Chinese foreign minister, Wang Yi, just met with Modi. That's to pave way for Modi's upcoming visit to China end of this month, August 31st, for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting in China. This is the first time in 7 years that Modi is visiting China. So this is pretty big. This is pretty big. Looks like there might be a soft rapprochement or détente that's going on right now between India and China to get their relationship back to a normal track. And it's all thanks to Donald Trump, of course. He gets all the credit.
Do you think he knows this? I mean, do you think he's doing this on purpose, or is it just backfiring?
Well, I think there's multiple reasons why Trump decided to squeeze India. One is because Trump can't, just like how he's squeezing all the European leaders right now. He's not putting the same kind of pressure on China for purchasing Russian oil, even though China is the #1 purchaser of Russian oil. That's because China has a Trump card, so to speak. They got United States. They got U.S. by the balls because China controls 90% of the rare earth refining. Right now, if they dig out rare earth in the largest rare earth mine in United States, which is Mountain Pass mine in California, they had to ship it to China to get it processed because there's no refining capacity in the United States. And China just put export control on rare earth exports. So now anyone who wants rare earth, they have to go file application to the Chinese Commerce Ministry and say, could I please have some rare earth? And so Trump there's not much additional pressure he can apply to China. So he's decided to punch in the softer target, which is India. And another reason, this is I think has to do with Trump personality, because Trump really wants that Nobel Peace Prize. He claimed credit for mediating a ceasefire between Pakistan and India during the recent Pakistan-India conflict. And the move was welcomed by Pakistan publicly. Pakistan sing praise of Trump, and they even nominated him for Nobel Peace Prize. Whereas India immediately came out and denied Trump any role of Trump in mediating the end of the conflict. So I think that really pissed off Trump. I mean, that man really wants a Nobel Peace Prize. And when India publicly rejected his claim of actually bringing peace, Trump didn't like that. And there's also, I think there's a bit of, right now, there's a lot of anti-Indian racism in United States.
I've seen that.
Yeah, especially on X, you can see that on X. And I think this is probably a result of, like the success of Indian Americans in United States. And, particularly recently, we have several high profile Indian American politicians like Vivek Ramaswamy, who didn't do himself any favor by calling Americans stupid. They should apply themselves, study harder. I mean, it's true, but you shouldn't say that when you're a politician, when you're trying to get elected into the office. And so he got a lot of hate, and now the whole Indian community is catching a lot of flag also over the issue of immigration. So Trump, I think he sees that, there's a lot of anti-Indian racism, particularly among the right. And so maybe he's just trying to capitalize on that as well, because Trump is very good at kind of sensing which way the wind is blowing and capitalize on the popular mood.
He's a populist.
Yeah, that's exactly. So I think these are the reasons why Trump is going after India, because he felt he could.
The thing, though, Carl, is
go ahead.
Sorry, but the thing is, you can understand the anti-Indian sentiment. I'm not defending it, but I'm saying you can understand it when you see what's going on in the States. You got this mass immigration problem. They have all sorts of employment issues, no longer manufacturing. So what happens is that they transfer their anger onto somebody else. It's the same with Europe. Europe is also imploding, but it's a mass immigration problem. They like to point fingers at the Muslims, but it's the immigration policy that welcomes the Muslims. If they copy China's border policy, they won't have a mass immigration problem, for example. But they don't want to accept the fact that, well, have more kids. If you feel that your population is dwindling, have bigger families. Stop celebrating degenerate OnlyFans me culture, and go back to what it means to have a family.
Go back to the bedroom, folks.
Yeah, go back to the bedroom. Go back to the bedroom. And you won't need to point fingers at Indians or what is that tweet you made? Let me pull it up here. It's some Lego thing with a jet, and it said something about when we say every last yellow man, we mean every last yellow man. And it looks like a Lego promo with an F-16 or stealth bomber or something made out of Lego.
Yeah, it's what's supposedly the China's Three Gorges Dam. Now it's like an internet meme now. Like a lot of people especially Americans, are coping. Oh, we're going to bomb this, take out the Three Gorges Dam. I mean, this is crazy talk. That's not going to happen. First of all, there's a lot of assumption that a U.S. stealth bomber can get deep enough inside the Chinese airspace, because Three Gorges Dam is about 2,000 kilometers up the Yangtze River, very far from the coastline. So assumptions is that American stealth bomber can penetrate so deep into Chinese airspace and drop a bomb and without retaliation. Like if that happens, there's going to be a nuclear exchange. China is going to launch the nukes.
But we know that can happen because a balloon went into American airspace, a Chinese balloon, Carl.
That was the first blood by F-22, by the way. That was the first confirmed kill by the American stealth fighter F-22. They killed a Chinese weather balloon. So a lot of this is copium. Like I said, I think there's very little possibility of actual hot kinetic war between U.S. and China, because that would just lead to, World War III and thermonuclear exchange, end of the human civilization, right? So
America won't survive that. Yeah, America won't survive that.
No, nobody survives. There's no winners in a nuclear war, right? I mean,
sure.
So a lot of that is just copium, and there's the amount of copium that was produced is because, as you point out, U.S. and I think on a greater scale, the collective West is facing a decline. They're facing deindustrialization, and and breaking down of the families, and the mass immigration is just a symptom. And I mean, like you say, why don't they just go have more babies? Well, you have to incentivize people to have babies. The reason people are not having babies because the youngs, they can't even afford to buy their own house. They can't move out of their parents' basement because the housing is so expensive. And then once you start working, you need a whole government support for people to have more babies again. You're going to make it easier for people to take longer maternity leaves, right? So the women can stay home longer to take care of the babies, and government have subsidized housing, education. That all costs money. It's a lot cheaper just to import immigrants for third world countries who are essentially like cheap labor and a permanent political underclass, because these people, they don't have political status.
China's all slave labor. Everything in China is slave labor. So there we go. We have low wages.
Well, China today has the largest deployment of industrial robots in the world. China has more industrial robots than the rest of the world combined. People may not realize this, but that is a fact. And Chinese car makers like the Xiaomi, they have lights off 24-hour. 24/7 lights off factories. It's lights off because there's no humans working there. It's all robots. Robots is rolling out making cars 24/7 because robots don't need to sleep. But yeah, that and for U.S. to even try to bring some manufacturing back, the only way they could do so is through automation. But again, automation is not going to add a lot of manufacturing jobs. So that's a problem. Like the youngins can't afford to get a decent paying job, so they can go have their own house, form their own family, and have more babies. And it's like, but at the same time, the rich, they still need nannies to take care of their kids. They still need someone to get the strawberry
from Mexico and the Philippines.
Yes. They still need they still need someone to pick the strawberries from the field. So I mean, literally, that's what's going on in U.S. I live in California for like 20 years. I mean, California. A lot of the low-wage labor in California basically runs on the back of Mexican migrant workers. So I don't know how. It's a problem. It's a lot easier in economic downturn to point finger at the immigrants, but as you correctly point out, it's a policy. The policy actually encouraged that. At least during the Biden administration, they literally just throw the border open and to allow anybody to come in. Why did they did that? It's easy. It's free labor. It's cheap labor, and it create a permanent underclass. These people who have no voting rights, so they can't influence political process in either direction. So this is why the elite, the 1%, they prefer it that way, and it's just serve as a further point of division. The society, that the two political party can play football on the immigration issue, because it's very easy for the politicians to just take a stance, right? Rather than actually doing something, just take a stance. I am for this issue. I am for this, and you don't have to do anything, and you get 50% of the vote. I mean, that's a quandary we're in right now. U.S. is originally set up as an immigrant society. It has being a history. Being a country of immigrants, so there's a lot of people who are for immigration and who people for reasons of humanitarian reasons. They felt that it's wrong to deny people a better chance. A chance at a better life, like their ancestor did when they came to United States, come through Ellis Island to U.S. So this is a very complicated issue. I don't think that's going to be resolved anytime soon. But I think you are right. I think the Indian Americans, they just caught astray because because there's a lot of there's a big reaction against the H-1B visa, right? That's when they bring in a lot of tech workers. But in a way, I work in the IT industry, right? So I know how H-1B visa work. A lot of time they brought in those are not genius visa. Let me put it that way. Those are not H-1B is not genius visa. I work with those people. They're brought in because of tech companies. They want cheap labor. The United States is not producing enough computer programmers. It's not graduating enough STEM graduates. And one of the reasons they don't get enough STEM graduates is because they're not paying them enough. No, you can make more money if you just go to the Wall Street. You make the bank. So all the smart cookies, the choice, the people that can actually do the math, it's so easy. They just go to Wall Street. Why do they want to have to be cranking the code, be a code monkey? So the tech for the tech giants, it's easy. Let's just bring in a lot of the Indian coders, on H-1B visa, because we don't want to pay our engineers, software engineers, more money. This way, we can keep the wages low, and this is why a lot of Silicon Valley tech bros, they're very much in favor of H-1B visa to continue to bring in. I mean, it's to depress wage. This is the idea of a lot of why the 1% that are pro-immigration, right? It's suppressing the wage.
Policy, Carl.
Yeah, it is
it's policy.
I think the fundamental problem, Jerm, is there's a fundamental disconnect between the 1% and the rest, because the 1% in the United States, they're not working. They're not working. Oh, let's work for the greatness of America. Let's make America great again. No, they're trying to make their wallet fatter again, even fatter. And that's the problem. They treat Americans, their fellow American citizen, the same way they treat people from the third world countries. They're all peons to them, right? Everybody is a peon to collect rent from, to squeeze money from. And that's a problem. This results in breakdown of social solidarity, right? I mean, if you go in United States as well as in Europe, nobody believe the leaders are working for the common man. Nobody believes that. and for EU, those guys are not even elected. I mean, von der Leyen was elected by 40 people, 40 MPs. What is that? But these guys are making the political decisions that influence all lives of Europeans.
Why does it matter if your country doesn't manufacture a lot? Ultimately, you can't be a jack of all trades.
Well, what you're saying, Jerms, you're talking about Adam Smith, right? The comparative advantages, but our current leadership, they don't believe that anymore. I mean, nobody has. They stopped talking about free market a long time ago, and now they're talking about trade barriers and bring manufacturing back home. I mean, I can understand. There's a lot of appeal to that, because United States has been shedding tons of manufacturing jobs since 1970s. U.S. have been offsourcing to mostly East Asia for the last 40 years. And as a result, a lot of manufacturing jobs, which previously were staffed by college graduate, men with men with only high school education. They could get a decent paying manufacturing wage job. But nowadays, you have to be a college educated to kind of even have a chance to make into the middle class. And that leave a lot of people behind, right? Those are the people who felt left behind by globalization, right? Well, unlike you, Jerms, you are doing well, you are making the bank. You are the 1%, Jerm. You're the benefit.
The war is happening between America and China, and meanwhile, nobody even cares. In fact, the world cares so little about South Africa that we had to name our country the physical geographical location of it, South Africa, just in case you didn't know where we were. How many countries have that? Yes. It's a big country. Yeah, I'm going to Africa for a safari. Do you know Mike? A lot of this also seems to be, in my view, a result of highly developed countries.
Yeah. I think I think in the energy sector, I think we are doing okay. I mean, there's still a lot of like United States, for example, is full of cheap natural gas and oil, and this is why Trump is actually going in a big way in oil. Whereas in other countries like China, they're developing solar, wind, nuclear, all these other source of energy. So I think energy-wise, I think we're going to be okay, especially
unless
now.
you mention Venezuela, which has, I think, one of the largest oil reserves. And you spoke about that also recently.
Well, the problem with having the world's largest oil reserve is you're gonna attract the attention of United States, because they're gonna start bringing democracy to your country when they smell oil, and that's exactly what's happening right now when the U.S. is about to send 4,000 troops to Venezuela. I don't know what they're gonna do with 4,000 troops, to be honest. That just sounds like the Bay of Pigs invasion, but on a slightly larger scale. I mean, you're not going to be able to take over the country with just 4,000 troops. So I don't exactly know what the intended effect of that is. Maybe Trump is just like trying to bluff, but I don't know. Who knows?
Did you see Putin when he was in the States recently? He went and we put down flowers on the graves of former Soviet soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big win for Putin, going to Alaska. A lot of people saying, "Oh, why is Putin taking a great personal risk? Go to United States. It could be a trap. He could be detained." No. Like Putin know what he's doing by going to United States, the country that was main backer of the ICC warrant that was out for Putin, and been received by Trump and got rode in the Beast, which he rode the Beast, the armored car, and that actually lent a lot of legitimacy to Putin as a world leader. Look, he's like, the ICC warrant is a joke. Even the United States, the country that pushed for it, is now treating it as a joke, and they're receiving him as the world leader that he is. So, and this is why his Russian foreign minister Lavrov showed up with a USSR T-shirt, casually strolling into Alaska. So this is a big win for Russia. They show that they are still a world power to be reckoned with. But I don't know.
We all know that's not true, Carl, because Trump made sure that Putin drove past all the big jets.
Oh, yeah. There were like a couple F-22s that flew over. I mean, come on. By the way, the reception for Trump, that was just pretty sad, because they have usually a world leader comes to your town, you have this whole honor guard, right? And for inspection. And then you see the picture and the videos of Putin walks down the red carpet, and they have just a bunch of U.S. servicemen who showing up like they were forced to work on Saturdays. And it's very sad. I mean, like, there's a reason nations have honor guard. It's to show respect both to your guests and to put the best foot forward for yourself, to put your own nation in a good positive light. But what instead, the whole Alaska meeting, it was I think because it was a last minute thing, like, because they couldn't find enough hotel room for the Russian journalists, so they have to host him in a stadium and with dividers, like an emergency hospital ward for the Russian journalists to sleep in, because apparently it was fishing season in Alaska, so all the hotels were already booked. So that tells me this meeting was a very last minute thing, right? And like, this is why everything is so haphazard. And I think this is Trump is looking for some kind of win by hosting Putin, by showing, hey, like all the Russia gate, to get Putin saying that Russia gate, that's a hoax. Russia did not interfere in the election. That was all Democrats making it up. But overall, I think Putin came out the bigger winner. But because for Trump, there's really no big deal, groundbreaking deal that he could show and say, all right, give me a Nobel Peace Prize now, folks. I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. I think that's what Trump is really after.
Does Trump ever come out as a winner?
Well, if you listen to the White House press release, Trump always wins, man. So much winning,
He's like that. He's like that dude in a school playground who's got the loudest voice, and he's shouting at everybody, telling everybody how great he is. He types everything or writes everything in uppercase letters.
But germs,
And
germs.
Putin's that little quiet nerd sitting in the corner playing chess.
Yeah, but except he's also like a judo captain, and he can actually kick your ass. That's the difference. He's not just a nerd who plays chess. He can also kick your ass. but Trump. But see, Trump is loudmouth because that's what it takes to succeed in American politics. In America, you have to be a loudmouth, a very confident loudmouth to get ahead. Like you can't be a nerd from a chess club to be elected the president of the United States. That just won't happen. I mean, Trump recently, said, because Trump was putting the squeeze on India, so there's a warming of ties between U.S. and Pakistan. And Trump was saying, Pakistan is so great. We're going to go there and we're going to get all the minerals. They have oil and we're going to get their oil. And people in Pakistan is like, what? When did we discover oil? He probably think, okay, Pakistan is a Muslim nation. It's kind of close to Middle East. It must be oil rich too. But, that's just Trump. He's great. Trump is great for television, man. He's great for television. Like the real question is, how did United States ended up with a reality TV host as a president? That's a real question. But Trump is undoubtedly a TV star. He has a great presence. Yeah, I don't even think the Pentagon are serious about war.
Shall we say? Other than the bankers,
right? I don't even think the bankers want a war. I think everything. It's very easy to understand. Everything is easy to understand if you just understand the whole government in the West, but particularly in the U.S., is set up as a grift. Right, like Julian Assange said. He said, U.S. and NATO is not in Afghanistan to win the war in Afghanistan. The whole point of Afghanistan and Iraq is to wash money from the vast taxpayer bases of Europe and America into the pockets of a few selected transnational security elite. That's all it is. It's all about grift. And so I don't think because a World War III, that could lead to a nuclear exchange. That could be the end of the civilization, right? Nobody wants that. But I do think that the purpose is to maintain tension. There's a term for it called strategy of tension. To maintain tension so they can continually to fund money towards a military-industrial complex. This is why the U.S. official Pentagon budget is over $1 trillion right now, and Trump administration is demanding European countries to put up 5% of their GDP into defense spending. I mean, that's great. 5% of your GDP to defense spending. That's a war level of military spending. Like Russia, even Russia now in the middle of war is spend about 7%. But for officially, EU is not at war with anybody. And even United States officially only spend about 4% of its GDP on defense. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be a war. I don't think the danger, the real danger is it accidentally gets started. I don't think it's anybody's plan to start a World War III, but the danger is it's an accident, right? Because like World War I, nobody expected World War I to go off the way it did, but that's a danger. Like there could be some accident in South China Sea, somewhere in the Red Sea, Gulf of Oman, and then suddenly it get bigger than you should be.
Going back to what you were saying, it's not as though China has got military bases all around the world. And thankfully, the United States has no military bases anywhere around the world.
Yeah, but I mean that's all part of the grift, Jerms. That's those military bases. That's a lot of fat contract for the military contractors. Like Halliburton, they made a lot of money through the whole Iraq debacle. If you look at the defense contractors' stocks, they have been going through the roof since the Great War on Terror. But like the not the same can be said by the general economy, but those defense companies, they have been eating well.
right now we can see that the Eastern Bloc internationally is becoming the next powerhouse. And it's very obvious that the West, NATO, Trump, MI6, CIA, UK, Western Europe, they don't like this. The irony is that they actually don't make up much of the world's population.
That's right. That's right. I mean, but this is why I think there's a fear among some Western elite that the rest of the world is going to out to get them, right? Because for so long, United States have what, like 5%, less than 5% of the world population has dominated over the globe for, since World War II. But now there's a lot of fear about losing that top spot. And which I think is unwarranted, because if you look at the example of UK, people in UK did pretty well after UK lost its empire. And right now the US empire is not really serving the average Joes in Michigan, because if anything, it's taking away the resources that's needed to be plowed into domestic infrastructure, education, everything that needed to actually make America great again. Instead, it's getting squandered in endless wars over the globe, and then it's just making all the defense contractors and the Washington lobbyists rich, and it's not sustainable. Whereas China is just investing in itself. China hasn't fought a war in the last 40 years. They continue to invest in their own education, their own infrastructure, and the track record speaks well for itself. And I think what the reason there's also a lot of anti-China propaganda in the West, I think it's because our ruling class don't want people to look at China as an example. It's like, see what happens when you don't waste trillions of dollars in wars abroad, when you actually invest in your own population. Like, what could happen? So this is why they must paint China as this, like, dystopian hell, So don't think about it. Like, you think you got it bad in US or Europe? No. Chinese, they have it way worse. So don't think about it.
It still always blows my mind, though, when people make that claim about China, that it's a sort of dystopian, totalitarian hell. They very quickly forget that here in South Africa, we have on average about, I think it is something like 20 to 30 murders out of 100,000, and something around 50 rapes out of 100,000, which is those are two of the highest ratios in the world. You are very likely to become a victim of crime, no matter where you are in South Africa at some point in your life, whereas you don't even think about crime, in countries like China or Japan.
But germs, according to Jon Stewart, that is a price of freedom, my man. That's a price you have to pay for your freedom. I mean, that's literally what Jon Stewart said when Tucker Carlson went to Moscow and marveled at how clean the street of Moscow is compared to New York City. And Jon Stewart just says, well, that's the price of freedom. And he said that unironically. It's like, this is why you have to accept shitty subways in New York City with rats everywhere, because that's the price of freedom, germs.
Here in South Africa, on car insurance, for example, on my own car insurance, you pay more if your car is not parked inside the garage.
Wow. Well, actually, I would like... Wait, you pay more.
In other words, sorry, I beg your pardon, you paid less because they want your car out of sight.
Okay, so
your car's likely to get broken into if it's in the driveway or in the street.
Okay, so they don't want you to park in the driveway or in the street.
Yeah, they want you to park in the garage if you have a garage.
No. We need that law in Bali, man. There's so many cars parking on the street. I can't barely squeeze by. We need that law here.
It's ridiculous how people are so myopic. And it's because of propaganda. They're indoctrinated, and it doesn't matter what you say. I've had these conversations over and over and over, and it's become almost like a comedy sketch now. But you're not Chinese. Have you been to China? No, but I want to go to China. Okay. I was in China. How long were you there? I was there for 10 days. That's not long enough. You need to live there. Okay, well, let me talk to somebody who lives there. No, you can't talk to somebody who lives there because they're being watched by the CCP.
Yeah, I mean, even I get that. I mean, like, and then they're like, but like, they're like trying to tell me they know more about me, about China, because China does not have freedom access to free information. I'm like, look, I live outside the Great Firewall, man. I have the same level of access to information as you do, except I have also been inside China, and I have lived there, and I have traveled through China. So, but it's hard to change people's mind, right? It's hard to change people, but that's why I encourage people to actually travel there and see it for themselves. Seeing
but traveling doesn't matter. Traveling doesn't matter because being somewhere for 10 days, you're still only seing what they want you to see, Carl.
Yeah, it's a
rather believe
village.
the BBC.
Well, the surprising thing about BBC is that I thought I was immune to Western corporate or government propaganda in case of BBC, but I was surprised when I traveled to Moscow. I was surprised to see how colorful, vibrant, beautiful Moscow is in the summer, and I was taken back by that. I was like, why did I find that surprising? And then I realized in the West, all the image I see coming out of Russia is like gray. There's always like a gray filter applied to it. Like the sky is always gray. Everything has no color, is very drab and very depressing. And so it's quite shocking for me to actually been there and to see how vibrant everything is in the summertime when the sun is out and people are out there enjoying themselves, right? Because people are not well traveled. People are not. They're not as worldly as you are, Jerms. They haven't, there's only like 5%. There's only 5% of the people in America that possess passport. They actually have passport, and the people that do have passport, they travel, the most destination they travel is just Canada and Mexico, right? They haven't even been outside of, a lot of them haven't even been outside of the continent of North America. So, yeah, I mean, the only thing they get is what their media fed them. I was told by this, by an African, by a Somalian, he said, search Mogadishu into English, into Google, and then search this, I forgot what's it called, the Mogadishu's name in the Somali language into Google, and do an image search, see what you happen. And it's very striking. If you put Mogadishu in Google and do image search, you just see like war zone, right? And whereas you use the Somali term for Mogadishu in the same Google image search, and it's very nice. It's a modern city. You can tell it's a modern city. So I mean, it's kind of amazing that just the language filter that was put on in the media.
But do you think that is by design or by emergence?
I think it could be both. To be honest, I mean, like because a lot of the news they sell to capture eyeballs, and also news turn to be overwhelmingly negative anyway. That because that's to play on people's fear, right? The fear is one of the strongest emotions, and that's how they get you. Like to give you, to get an emotional response out of you that make you possibly want to click, right? It's a clickbait. So I think there's that part, and then there's I think the media also selling to people what they want to hear, right? They want people. Let's face it, people want to hear that other people are doing more poorly than they are. And the media feeds into that. And I think that's what's going on.
Remember when you and I were in Hong Kong? We went to a Japanese restaurant, and you weren't there, but afterwards I briefly went and spoke to the head chef, the Japanese chef, who could barely speak English. Now, what was so funny to me is we often talk about stereotypes and how countries are seen. You spoke about Mogadishu being a war zone, and so South Africa is a crime capital, and there are other things that I suppose that come to mind when you say South Africa. But one of the things that doesn't really often come to mind is biltong, which is effectively beef jerky. We call it biltong; it's the Afrikaans word. We don't say beef jerky, but it in my view, it tastes way better than beef jerky. It's the way that it's made. Anyway, it's not exactly something you would think of when you say South Africa. So when I was chatting to that chef and he asked me where I was from, I said South Africa, and the first thing he responded with was biltong.
Wow,
that's incredible.
Wow. Well, that's a little bit different. That's his specialty, right? He's a top chef. That's
yes.
He knows his food, so he's a very well educated chef. When you told me about this is the first time I heard about both. You know what? I gotta travel to South Africa. I gotta take my own advice. I want to go taste it for myself.
Come stay with me. Yeah, stay with me.
Let's do it.
You will love biltong. It is one of the best things you can eat, and our wine, I would argue, is often better than French wine. But we never win those competitions because I think it's all rigged in favor of the French because they can't possibly lose anything to do with wine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a branding, right? This is South Africa. They need what you guys need. You need Americans to do your PR because Americans are great at marketing, right? But we're great
Not
at
the Chinese.
Marketing. No. Chinese shit at marketing and propaganda. Americans are best at marketing and propaganda. So that's what you need. You need some American PR person to do more PR for South Africa.
And to
for the
prove your
South African
point,
Bolton.
Yeah, to prove your point, look at branding in America, like Apple, right? It's just literally an icon. They don't even have the word Apple on it, right? Chinese cars, like GWM, it just says GWM.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know what GWM means, right? I mean, you wouldn't even know what the hell is a GWN.
Or Haval, that's the word Haval.
Yeah.
Or BYD, it's the word, the letters BYD. There's no branding.
Exactly.
So they need to work on that too.
Yeah, they do. They should hire me.
But Americans are the best. You're right. They're the best in marketing.
Yes. The BYDs of the world, they should hire me. I can inject some of this American marketing for them, the American PR. I know how to work my magic.
Something that I noticed when I was in the UAE and also in Hong Kong, and I suspect this is now very normal across Asia, is the combination of electric and ice. It's not one or the other. Dubai, huge amount of electric cars, but also a huge amount of diesel or petrol. I think that's very clever because what I think a lot of Western car manufacturers have done wrong in the last 10 years is just go balls to the wall on electric. And I think it's cost them very dearly because not everybody wants electric.
Yeah. And especially in places where you don't have charging stations, right? I mean, like
South Africa, hi.
I was trying to be diplomatic. I mean, like a lot of people don't. When they talk about Chinese overcapacities, they always talk about Chinese state subsidies. What they don't realize, there's actually intense market competition within China. All these Chinese automakers are competing with each other for market share. That's why they slash prices by a great deal. Like once those cars get exported out of China, the price doubles. In fact, the Chinese car makers right now, they're looking to expand their export markets because they get more profit selling outside of China versus inside of China. Because inside China, they face too much competition from their fellow Chinese car makers.
And in a wonderful horseshoe back to the beginning of the conversation, God bless Trump because his tariffs have now encouraged us to buy Asian products. Chinese cars are taking the market by storm here.
I'm telling you, Jerms, Trump is my president. He's my president for accelerationism. I mean, I love him. I wish he'd be like the God Emperor for life.
Well, what do you think of that comment that I think it's Alex Craner and many others have made that Trump actually favors multipolarity and is deliberately trying to create competing currencies?
I don't know. I think for Trump, he's very transactional, right? Like to subscribe him to some kind of grand strategy, I think that's a little far-fetched. I think Trump for Trump, everything is transactional. Like he's doing stuff like he's telling NVIDIA, okay, well, I'll allow you to sell this watered-down AI chips H20 to China, but you have to pay me 15% of your revenue. And so he's just collecting tolls from everybody, and that's what the whole tariff is about, right? The tariff is not being paid by foreign countries. They're being paid by American importers. And then it gets passed down to American consumers. So in effect, a tariff is a tax, but it's disguised as tariff. So people don't realize it's a tax, but that's all it is. It's about collecting tolls, collecting rent from the rest of the population. So I doubt. I have my doubts whether Trump has some any more grander vision than that, than just collecting money.
For now, Carl, how can I follow you?
Oh yeah, I'm a prolific ship poster on X. Like if you haven't got enough of my ship posting right now, you can get more by follow my handle, just Carl Za. That's my X handle, and I have my own YouTube channel, Carl Za again, or you can find me on Patreon, where I do the Silk and Steel podcast, which focus on everything China, history, culture, and politics, and I do a chronological retelling of the Chinese history from the very beginning. Right now, I'm up to like 310 BC, so I still have a long way to go. And feel free to check it out. Support me, support my surfing habits in Bali, so I can live like a degenerate surfer that I am.
All right, Carl. Thanks for joining me in the trenches.